Hey, it's Rob Rush, and I am joined today by a voice that you are very familiar with, the Toto lead singer named Joe Williams. And Joe will be bringing Toto along with, this is an interesting lineup, Christopher Cross and the Romantics to Jones Beach on July 19th. Joe, thanks for hanging out today, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's good to see you, Rob.
It's nice to see you. So, yeah, this is going to be a cool show. Some people might think, I guess over the past few years, I don't know how you feel about this, but some people lump Toto into the yacht rock thing, which I still don't think is quite there. But Christopher Cross is definitely yacht rock. Then you have the Romantics, which are kind of like new wave. So, would you say it's an interesting lineup that you're bringing out on the road this summer? And how did that come about?
Well, it's listen, this is I think our third or fourth year working with Christopher Cross. We love him. He's a dear friend.
And an
I
amazing musician too. Yeah,
an amazing, very underrated guitar player. So people
yeah.
don't realize that, but you'll see that in this show. He's terrific. Romantics, was it's kind of a new one for me. I mean, obviously we remember their popular tunes, but I'm really looking forward to this. I think that their set's going to be a lot of fun, full of energy, and it's going to be great. As I said, Chris has been a great friend for many many years, and we love working with him. His crew, our crew, get along great. His band is fabulous. It's always just sort of a pleasure to tour around with them. Everybody gets along great, so it's a real smooth running operation. So we're glad to have him. He's got nothing but hits. So
Mhm.
the audience is gonna love that. And as far as the yacht rock thing goes that you mentioned, I think what qualifies Toto is just that the musicians from Toto played on all of the records back
Which
in
is
the day
true. Yeah. Mhm.
that are considered yacht rock artists. So, and there's a few songs in Toto's catalog that would fall under the what we would call the adult contemporary
Mhm.
area, and that's kind of really what yacht rock is. It's the music from those days is maybe not quite current or
Yeah.
contemporary, but it's adult, sort of smooth rock and roll and pop, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love it, and it's huge around here. And I think the show is going to be an amazing, just for everybody. Jones Beach, have you played there before with Toto a couple years
We
ago?
have,
Maybe? Yeah, yeah.
yes, we
So you know
definitely
how well a perfect night at Jones Beach is going to be great. And
have.
how long does the tour run for?
It's about 6.5 weeks, something like that. We start in like the second week of July and go through the first week of September. So 6, 7 weeks.
What's the best part of touring? Because a lot of people, think that it's, you get on the bus or you drive and you go to all these expensive hotels and then you stay here. It's not like that. So for you, what is the best part of touring? That could be a gruel.
Well, I mean, I think the answer is probably going to be the same with anybody else that you ask from a touring band and stuff. And the answer is easy. It's the show. The show is the very best part of the
Yeah.
of the whole thing because you get to do really what you love to do, and you can do what you're out there to do. It's often said that the other 22 hours of the day is what I get paid for. So
It's funny you say that because I'm sure you're familiar with Twisted Sister. So my buddy Mark is the bass player or was the bass player in Twisted Sister. And he always said that when they would travel, they got paid to travel and doing the show was free.
that's right. I mean, that's really the best way to look at it. I mean, for me, for a singer, half the battle is just making sure that you don't get sick
Yeah.
and making sure that you're rested. I mean, the worst thing in the world is to go out there on stage and not have your instrument be, as close to 100% as you can be. It's the audience expects it. It's the one element that you listen to from an audience standpoint that really has to be there.
Yeah.
The rest of the band can be playing perfectly, but if the vocals don't sound good, it's not as fun. It's
It's
not
not
as
as fun. And you mentioned Joe that Steve Lukather, and a lot of the guys that were in Toto played on those yacht rock records. There's a lot of talk about Steve working with Alex Van Halen on this new Van Halen project. So have you maybe thrown your hat into the ring and been like, hey, if you need somebody to do some stuff, let me know. I saw David Lee Roth the other night here at the Paramount in Huntington, and Well, to say, I mean, it was interesting, is what I'll say. And I definitely think Joe Williams can maybe sound a little bit better than DLR nowadays. So,
Well, certainly. I mean, I don't know what those guys want to do. Luke knows where to find me. That's
yeah.
kind of the way I put it. I'm obviously very excited for the project. Luke and Eddie were really, really close friends.
Mhm.
And it was a very, very big loss for all of us, for the world, and losing Eddie and stuff, and obviously Alex's brother. It's difficult. He left a wealth of material that was unfinished and still sitting out there, and so Alex decided to put a project together of this newer material. Luke is the perfect person to be involved to sort of help bring it all in and all together and stuff. And I don't really know the answer to the singer question in that equation. You know what I mean? It may be multiple people. It may just be one person that they find that fits the bill.
Yeah.
Any way you look at it, it's going to be, maybe a combination of David
Sammy,
and the other guy. Yeah, Sammy.
maybe Gary.
Maybe Gary. Yeah, exactly. So, but who knows? I mean, I just who knows what the material is going to be like. I know it's not quite Van Halen, the band.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But like, in answer to your question, Luke knows where to find me.
Yeah, I'm
He
sure.
know he knows I'm up for everything. So
And you are. I mean, you've done a lot of things in your life. Not only, singing, you've been session singer on, albums like by Peter Cetera. People of a certain age might actually remember you as the lead singer for the Adventures of the Gummy Bears intro. That was 1985. Now,
yeah.
your father is the famous composer John, and you do have Long Island roots. Your father actually grew up in my neighborhood, next town over. He for 60, I think he lived in Floral Park till he was what, like 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, Flushing, New York is I think where he was born and lived there until he was I think 15 or 16, and then my grandfather moved everybody out to the West Coast. My grandfather was the house drummer at CBS Radio for many, many years in New York,
Yeah.
and subbed for great drummers in some big bands, Benny Goodman and Tommy Dorsey and all these guys. So he worked with some great people. He came out to LA and they just sort of moved him from one CBS to the next, and then he became a percussionist and drummer in orchestras for film music, which is I think how my father got introduced to some of the orchestras and the contractors in Los Angeles. He started out as a piano player on films, as part of the orchestra,
Now you
and then
said Flushing because I read it was Floral Park that your father and had roots in.
no, Flushing Meadows is where he
Flushing
was.
Meadows. Okay, so
Yeah,
see, you
that
can't
that
believe everything you read on the internet.
that's right. That's where he's from, technically, and his parents are all from Maine and Massachusetts.
Yeah, I was
So
just up in that part because I try to do my homework on the people I speak to, and yeah, your grandparents had some sort of shop up in Bangor, Maine. Is that correct?
I think you're thinking of my great grandmother, my grandfather's mother, who was a buyer for several different department stores at the time.
Okay, that's what it
So
was. Yeah.
she up in Boston mainly. So she would come down to New York and see the kids, the grandkids and stuff, and do a little buying for I guess a regional department store up in Maine. I think it was Boston, actually Massachusetts and stuff. So
Oh,
I think that's what it is that you're referring to.
so what I want to ask you is, what do you like to do? Like, what's the process for both? When you're writing a song, I'm guessing, a lot different than when you're scoring something because you've scored a number of, pieces of music yourself in movies and television. So, can you give me the process of both? Like, how do you see it as a creative person and as you are?
Well, songwriting, you're free to basically do whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
Even if you're sort of doing something that's like, being asked of you for a particular project or something like that, it's still a little bit more free in what you can do with it. With scoring for TV, which I did for 15 years, and films, smaller films, that kind of thing. You're writing music to fulfill the vision of whatever the filmmaker is looking for.
Hmm,
you know,
okay.
to accommodate your filmmaker's vision, so to speak. And in TV, it's even harder because you've got producers and network people that want to listen to your preview the music for each episode, and everybody's got changes and comments and stuff like that, and so you have to accommodate that. It
Yeah,
means
it's like
sometimes
working in radio, making commercials. You got to do
it
what
is.
they want. Yeah.
Exactly. So sometimes you can write a cue that you think is the best piece of music you've ever written, and then you have to change it all because of comments from the filmmakers or network or that kind of thing. So it's a little less forgiving
Mhm.
as songwriting. Scoring is a sort of a solitary existence. You find out how many minutes of music you're gonna work on and where it's gonna go in the film or show or whatever it is, and then you go about the task of being alone in your studio and writing all of those minutes of music, and it can be very isolating. You can feel a little bit isolated. Songwriting is for me, as most of my songs were kind of co-written.
Hmm.
Wrote a lot with David Page, who wrote Africa and all the
Yeah.
big Toto hits and stuff. And that's more fun. You're bouncing off of somebody else, and you're free to kind of go wherever you want to go, and write lyrics, and it's just a little bit more of a hang.
Yeah.
Whereas I think scoring is a little bit more of disciplined kind of existence.
And the last album I think that Toto had was 2018. So has there been a talk about maybe doing something new with either Toto or you doing some solo stuff after this tour wraps up with Christopher Cross and the Romantics?
Yeah, I mean, Luke and I both had solo albums in 2021, and I think he had another one in 22 or 23 that we worked on together. David Page had a couple of solo projects and stuff, and so we used to say that you just mash those all together and you can make it a Toto record if you want. Stylistically, we're all very sort of similar to each other in
Yeah.
that way.
And
Um,
that's cool though.
yeah, it's very cool. But we've got 50th anniversary coming up, and so we've definitely been talking about doing at least a kind of a lead track that's new that we could, play live and, put out there and for streaming and stuff. Nothing is set in stone yet, and it may be 2028, which technically is the 50th anniversary of the release of the first record. Although 27 next year is really the 50th anniversary of the band as a group of guys who got together and started making the first album. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit of a 2-year cycle that we're going to go out and tour with and stuff, and there may be something original that comes along with us.
Oh, that should be great then. And then, Toto will be here on the island on July 19th with the Romantics and Christopher Cross. And before we let you go, Joe, is there like a favorite spot that you like to hit up when you're here on Long Island? Jones Beach is beautiful. And again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, touring sometimes doesn't allow you to have a lot of wiggle room to get out and see the places you're at. But if you have, what are some of the places that you enjoy here on Long Island?
Well, I always love going back and looking at my father's childhood home and
Mhm.
everything in that area and stuff, and further up north, on the beach and stuff is great fun and stuff. But as you said, it just depends. It's if we have a day off on either side of the gig there,
Yeah.
then we have a chance to sort of look around. And it's been a while since that's been the case. Usually, when we get into New York and that area up there and the northern eastern coast and stuff, we're moving pretty fast because there's a lot of different venues to hit. But I'm hopeful that we'll have a little bit of time off so I can explore a little bit more.
Yeah, that would be great. And again, we appreciate you taking the time out here to speak with us. Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics at Jones Beach, and that's going to be on July 19th.
That's it.